Let's talk about photography, shall we? And sales. Okay, so photography, what is it? When you say I want to be a photographer, what do you go out and learn? How to shoot. You learn about lighting, you learn about gear, you learn about exposure, you want to be a photographer. If you take it to the next level and say, gosh, I'm really getting into this, I want to figure it out a little bit more, you start learning about things like business, hopefully. Hopefully you saw the Taking Care of Business course last year. And you start learning about client connection, hopefully, which is a huge thing that I am extremely focused on in my photography. But how often do you go out and learn about sales? Have any of you guys had any sales training as it relates to photography? Would it even make sense that you would? Is there a lot out there? There's really not a lot out there that many people flock to and prioritize, like I must learn about this. So first and foremost, huge props to you guys for doing so. In photography, about 10% of what you're doing day in and day out, even if you have a pretty booked schedule, is the shooting part. The rest of it is the business, and very much so the fueling of the business, which means you have to sell your work. The interesting thing, I think, about photography is that a lot of people are getting into it, right? Have you guys noticed this? A lot of people are getting into it, and the reason is very interesting and very obvious. The technology, the difficulty of the technology is evening out. It's a beautiful way to express yourself. Those people who are drawn to being artistic are drawn to this versus learning how to paint. And there's a plentiful amount of reasons why people are getting into photography. The biggest thing that affects photographers is that there's a low barrier to entry. You can get into it with a camera and a lot of motivation and a desire to learn more. There's a very low barrier to entry. What is not a low barrier to entry is learning how to stay in business and how to sell your work. Many people can get into photography, but many people will not stay in photography because they're not sustaining their business because of this missing part of sales. So this whole course is designed around the fact that hopefully you've chosen a profession that makes you happy. Hopefully you're doing work that you love. Was that part of your decision to move into photography? By show of hands. Every single person, and our chat hosts. How many people on the internet are raising their hands? This is one of those few professions that, as opposed to, I'm not going to list one, because last time I did that, I got in trouble. I kept listing a banker, and I got really in trouble with the banking community. But hopefully, this is a profession that you've chosen because you love the work. And if you love the work, you need to figure out how to stay in the work. So that is what this course is going to be about. As we dive into 3 full days, just a quick reminder of what we did on the work-life balance course. What we did was talk about the fact, if you weren't in on that course, we built a priority plan. And what we built was looking at everything in your life. Where does it all shake out? How are you prioritizing your life? And I presented this dinner table idea, where you're sitting at the dinner table and your perfect seat is in the middle of the dinner table, so you can see everybody who's at the dinner party, and you're on a rotating seat so you can get around to talk to everybody. But you're not treating this like a lot of the graphics that I've seen that represent work-life balance, like a pyramid or a scale or a pie chart. This is more like everybody at the table needs your attention. Work's a vital part of it. And so if you're sitting at home and thinking, you know what, 3 days on sales sounds awesome. I'm sure I need it. I need a lot of stuff. But right now I'm busy with everything at the dinner party, so I'm gonna back burner it and get to it later. That's a very natural and normal response. And yet, backburnering this and the work-life balance, those are 2 critical things that enable you to keep doing what you love and keep being happy on a daily basis. Which, if you saw Wednesday, that's the only way you get happy for life, is you're happy on a day-to-day basis. So hopefully you can put everything aside and really sink into the details of this course, because business is fundamentally producing goods and services and selling them. Think of every business model you know. Every one of them. That is the premise for all of them. That is all you are doing in business. And if you have no goods and no services, Obviously, it's important to cultivate your photography and really get good at producing your work. You have nothing to sell. But if you can't sell the work that you're great at, you cannot keep producing because you cannot stay in business, right? I mean, it really is that black and white and that vital. So, these are my babies. Who is in your head when you think of a salesperson? Who is in your head? Like, how are you picturing when somebody says salesperson?
Used cars.
Used car. You know what? I'm going back. This is really, really important, actually. Who is in your head when you think of salesperson?
Let's ask the internet what they...
Yeah, so I'd love it. Just throw it out, because these are the words that we're going to knock to the ground
Telemarketer.
by the end of this.
Yeah, Scott Radliff says used cars, tweed jackets with elbow patches.
Used car. Oh, God, that is just, I would hate to be a used car. I mean, because you know that somebody's tuning in as a used car salesman. Of course, statistically, it's probable. Used car salesman, tweed jackets with elbow cuffs.
Elbow patches.
Okay.
And she's writing it down.
All right. What
How
else?
about you guys in the studio?
Telemarketer.
Telemarketer. Okay. What are the images you have when you think about a salesperson? Mark. Keep going.
I don't know if this is necessarily like a prototype, but I actually think a lot of people think of liars. You know?
Liars.
Yeah.
That's great. That's exactly what, I mean, this is exactly it. What is it about it that is to you? What core, what do you think, what are you envisioning? Let's just get it out.
I think of making quotas, like doing anything to make a quota.
All right, so quota-driven automatron. All right?
Cat and Kersley photography, furniture store employees that follow you around their store.
Stalker,
/ pushy.
pushy, retail-y. Okay?
Simpson Portrait says manipulation. And Painted Foot says smooth talkers. People are saying smooth talkers, scammers, selling fluff.
Wow.
Politicians.
Wow. This is a maligned profession. Scammers, smooth talkers, politicians.
Commission seekers.
Okay, so keep going with that. What's wrong with that? That's what you are. That's what we are. We're 100% commission salespeople. So let's get to the root of it. What is wrong with commission sales?
Right, so that's Ashley Willard. Let us know.
Tell us.
Well, Dora W says pushy people who want you to spend more than you can afford.
Pushy, spend, pushers. What's wrong with upselling? No, I'm saying get to the part that says, because those are just the actions. What is it about that action that's Tricksters. Hucksters. Is it huckster a word? Trickster. Huckster.
Not listening to what it is that you maybe want.
Not, oh my gosh.
And that's similar to what Beth Olson Creative says, which is you feel like the other person is more interested in your money than actually helping you.
Yep, perfect. Then helping.
And Kristen says, feels like you're spending hard-earned cash for a product that is not being backed up.
So it feels like, because the vision is of the salesperson. So what I think she's saying, or say it again?
Let me find it. Oh, Kristen, she says, feels like you're spending hard-earned cash for a product that is not being backed up.
Okay, so basically being swindled
Swindled.
to spend on something that doesn't last.
Yeah.
Or isn't supported.
Yeah, or isn't
Okay.
quality.
Okay. Swindled on poor quality.
Look
What-
at
what
that.
else? Can I
Look
add
at
to that?
that.
Yes?
As far as the swindled on poor quality, I think that your clients know how much a print actually costs. So you're, as a salesperson, trying to sell them something that is much more expensive, so that they have that.
That's over here. So you have a fear.
They're
that
knowledgeable about the actual price that a
They
cost of
understand
goods.
costs. How does that relate to price? Not the same as price. Okay?
Images of his says anyone with an agenda, whether good or bad. And I think that's very powerful because you do, anytime you're in a sales situation, you do feel like someone has an agenda.
They have an outcome in mind and they want it from you.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like it's in your best interest. It's their agenda, not yours.
All right, their agenda. That's excellent. I mean, the reason why this is excellent, so excellent, is because all of this is living in your head when you're thinking about, I want to be this person. How do I get myself to be a huckster, a liar, a manipulator, a scammer, a politician, a pushy spend pusher? Ugh, who wants to be that person?
Claire of RA says intrusive
Intrusive,
and smarmy.
smarmy. It's like, you know what we needed to do? Just go to the source and look up horrible, evil people. And we've got our list. All right. Oh, wow, we've got a lot of work in front of us. Shall we? So this is in your head when you think of a salesperson. These are horrible, horrible things to have in your head. So first and foremost, if all of this is related to the term sales person, it's like Sesame Street. You don't say salesman anymore. It's not the mailman, it's the mail carrier. It's a salesperson. I would suggest we stop using the word salesperson in our terminology because we have a problem with it. Call it what you want to call it. Portrait consultant, fine art consultant, wedding photography consultant, portrait product photography consultant, landscape specialist. Start with the language, because we are getting tripped up on the language. This language is awful. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say that in the end, I think, whenever I'm buying anything, if I need help, I just want an expert who's going to provide a solution to my problem.
Right. You want to be a consultant, somebody who's an expert in a subject. Yes. So if you're going to identify yourself somehow, identify yourself with a term that draws you in. If I have a problem, I want to seek someone who can consult me with expert knowledge. I don't want a huckster. So at least start by giving yourself the advantage of the proper terminology. I think that according to most research, all these yucky stereotypes out there, they actually describe the worst salesmen in terms of their quotas and their numbers and their success rates. These are not that used car salesman, that person you fear, the one who stalks you around the living room furniture store. These are not the people at the top of their game. We are associating all these negative connotations with the people who are doing the worst at their job. They are not representing the industry and they're not representing the field. These are the people that are hop from deal to deal and they're not successful long term because clearly with these attributes, they're not building relationships long term. So we're identifying with the lowest of the low in terms of reaching for how do the best do it in a way that seems seamless and successful and positive and uplifting and helpful. I think, Philip, there's a book out there called The Art of the Sale by Philip Broughton, I believe is how you say your name. And he summarizes basically the most successful people in their field. One sentence after doing all this research that would sum it up is the most successful salespeople out there would be considered the low ego character who sees genuine client service as their highest goal. Not money, not booking it, not making their agenda work, not swindling anybody, But someone who says, look, if I can figure out how to please you and give you what you want and solve your problem and fill your needs, then eventually when it is time, you will come to me to buy. There's no pressure. There's no, I am going to make you do this. It's very real. It's very transparent. And that is the person you want to go to when the time comes. Have you known people like this? What's an example of somebody who fits this bill that somebody you've known?
I think of like, you know, a massage therapist or, you know, somebody that's kind of trying, or acupuncture or something in like health where they sell you the package
Yes.
for the 10 massages, but they don't get the feeling that they're doing it for the money. They really want you to feel better. And
Perfect analogy. You physically feel their help. You know exactly what it feels like to feel better because of their services. And you don't feel like they're trying to get anything out of this except for dutifully charging what the service is worth that is genuinely helping you. Right? And so you have a positive association. Okay, that's great. Hold on to that, please, as we go through this. The interesting thing, I think, about sales is when you're looking, I talked earlier about how in photography, most people don't get a lot of sales training. What's even more interesting than that is in business, most people don't get a lot of sales training. It's a kind of jarring when you really look at sales education. But I think the numbers are, I wonder if I do. According to a recent study at Harvard Business School, 479 of the US business programs that are accredited, only 101 have any sort of sales curriculum. And only 15 of them offer some sort of sales-oriented graduate curriculum. Only 15 at the graduate level out of 479. So they're not teaching sales.
Not at all. They teach marketing.
They teach marketing. They tell you how to generate the lead,
But
but
not
good
to
luck with
close
that
the
when you
deal.
get it.
Yeah, no.
They teach you marketing, they teach you strategy, they teach you finance, they teach you how to build beautiful spreadsheets.
Right.
They teach you a lot about operations and logistics and distribution, important things to know depending on where you are in a business. But when we went back to the beginning of this whole presentation and talked about the two fundamental parts of business, producing products and services, and then the selling of them. All that other stuff that gets taught, that's thickly in there, but those are the tenets. Those are the basic things you need to do. And that's the part that's getting left out. So in photography, if they're not doing it in business schools, how many photography schools are teaching sales? CreativeLIVE is.
that's what we're here for.